the blue corner. Coming forward hard, striking early. Arjan Bhullar coming out of the red corner in the all-black trunks.
These are big boys. These are not fat heavyweights. These are real heavyweights, similar to the build, the Cain Velasquez type, where they've got a little bit extra, but there's a lot of fighter here.
A patient start to the fight. Trying to find the range here in the early going. Sometimes, Jeremy, when you see fighters that are as accomplished on the ground as both of these guys are, what that turns into is 15 minutes of striking, because neither one of them wants to go to the ground. Although Arjan Bhullar now driving for a takedown. A nice block there from Jon Taine Hall, and answered with a couple of knees from Hall up against the cage.
Pressure now here from Arjan Bhullar. He went in on the single leg attack, but you're right, Ryan, a very good stuff there from Jon Taine Hall. In fact, the leg that Arjan was trying to pick up in a single leg, Jon Taine used as a knee, and I think that Arjan was surprised that all of a sudden this leg is up into him where he would like it for that single leg, but it was so up and down so quickly that he wasn't able to get a hold of it.
You also wonder too, when you've got this kind of pedigree, if the shot is an attempt to get up against the cage and merely just and use it as a cage control maneuver as opposed to a legitimate shot to go through, because I'm pretty sure if he had secured the leg, it wasn't in enough time to get it against the cage.
One, Bhullar trying to drop down to the double leg. Good stuff there from Jon Taine Hall. And Arjan leaning up against Jon Taine Hall, trying to put the weight on him, trying to make him carry his 240 pounds, and again, perhaps tire him out. The one thing that we don't necessarily know about Jon Taine Hall is how good the tank is. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there is a lot of lying on your back or lying on your stomach, whereas wrestling is a very active sport. So it's going to be interesting to see how the gas tank holds up for both these fighters.
Yeah, Randy Couture made a career of pressing guys up against the cage, dirty boxing, knees, elbows, and fists up against the cage. Jon Taine Hall trying to scamper out, and does. And not a bad exchange there up against the cage, some knees and some fists thrown. But Arjan Bhullar had Jon Taine Hall up against the cage for a substantial amount of time, and cage control matters here in the eyes of the judges.
Good slip there from Jon Taine. Now Jon Taine in on the leg attack. And this is perhaps a surprise, something that we didn't expect. But again, now Jon Taine is leaning up against Arjan Bhullar. But you see, he's got the whizzer, he's got the overhook on the one side, and he's got the underhook on the other side to be able to lift that hand off of his leg. So good leg defense here from Arjan Bhullar.
Also trying to prevent those knees into the side of his leg. You can see him shifting back after they happen. Now putting his leg up, trying a nice slip there, but Jon Taine Hall does have a leg, uses it to get himself back into a better position.
Bhullar's leg up in the air. Jon Taine Hall with that single leg position, trying to work from it, something that Arjan Bhullar would be familiar with this position, lots of time spent here. But again, what it's showing is offense from Jon Taine Hall, and in a round where there hasn't been too many big strikes to put aside, any sort of offense could sway the judges, and if you can get a round lead, that's such a great thing to have going into the later rounds of the fight.
So Jon Taine Hall has had that leg now for the better part of a minute. Arjan Bhullar has been hopping up and down. Again, trying to find an opening. Now does finally Jon Taine Hall, releases that leg to try and switch it up for a double and maybe secure a takedown to really kind of give himself the round. With short time left here in round number one, a takedown could make a difference between winning the first round and losing it.
Well, and double unders from Arjan Bhullar. Immediately, Jon Taine recognized the danger in that position and letting a wrestler have double unders, so he abandoned that position and, in fact, went down to the cage, and now he's eating a few punches for good measure. But this is going to be a tough round to call. Jon Taine has been very active with his knees and legs, like he is there, landing them to the side of Arjan Bhullar.
20 seconds left here in the first of three possible rounds between Jon Taine Hall and Arjan Bhullar. Bhullar trying to work.
Nice elbow.
Forearm there. Elbow connected at the base. And another nice punch. Again, pressing Hall up against the cage, trying to hold an advantage. There's another punch. Again, all those strikes matter in a round that's as close as this round has been. Jon Taine Hall and Arjan Bhullar go through the end of the first round. Jeremy, a very tough round to call. That one, that round as close as could be, and we'll see what happens in round number 2 here. And the gas tank was an issue in our last fight. We'll see what it is between these two fighters here as Jon Taine tries the front kick and just misses.
That front kick, nice front kick from Jon Taine, answered by a combination followed by a knee by Arjan Bhullar.
Abandons the leg kick, does Jon Taine Hall. Again, Bhullar now trying to slip and throw a combination.
And he's leading with the jab, following up with that big right straight that's landed twice to the face of Jon Taine Hall.
Again, very patient to start round 2. It's what we saw at the beginning of round 1 as well. Eventually it was Arjan Bhullar shooting in on a single leg, but this time both guys finding the striking. We heard from the coaches of Arjan Bhullar that the striking is there and that Jon Taine Hall's hands were down, and you can see that they are. A good call from the coaches there. A big knee there and trying to follow it up. Nice continuity there from Arjan Bhullar.
Now this is where Arjan Bhullar likes to work on this inside position. This is basically heavyweight wrestlers. This is what they do. Lots of head movement. You'll find that head in the pocket. And the reason that he's doing it is it helps locate the head for the hands. He doesn't actually have to see the punches to land them because he knows, hey, he's sitting right above my head. All I have to do is punch above my head and I'm going to hit him.
So knees being exchanged by both heavyweights. Bhullar does have Jon Taine up against the cage now. Steps away, some big punches. Arjan Bhullar is swarming here. Jon Taine Hall in some trouble, Jeremy.
Arjan Bhullar continuing to land some big shots on Jon Taine Hall. And again, Jon Taine went down for an instant, but was right back up. So we'll see if he's able to recover quickly or if Arjan Bhullar can continue this bull rush forward. Jon Taine holding on to the left hand of Arjan Bhullar to try and prevent those strikes from coming in.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Jeremy went down, but very quickly back to his feet, not allowing Arjan Bhullar any opportunity to swarm in for some ground and pound offense. Bhullar continuing to throw punches up against the cage, and now standing off, throwing big strikes, but Hall seems to have recovered. Jeremy back on his feet. Doesn't seem wobbly at all, but Bhullar landing more punches and knees, definitely getting the better of the striking here in round 2.
When he continues to move forward, which is so crucial here for a wrestling type guy, that he continues to put the pressure on because of that ability to have that gas tank, never giving his opponent a break. Some blood coming from the nose of Jon Taine Hall, but Arjan Bhullar uses the wrestling to get himself in a good position, then lands some very good left hands, and it so far has been a good advantage. And apparently Andy Social unhappy with the holding on of the wrist, so he gets the fighters back up in the open.
Yeah, a little lack of action up against the cage, so Andy Social resets. And again, Bhullar landing a couple punches on his way in. A nice combination, a jab in response from Jon Taine Hall, but Bhullar uses it to go forward, and some big uppercuts and a huge knee to Jon Taine Hall. Arjan Bhullar is teeing off a big elbow now, 2 of them up against the cage. Bhullar is doing damage here near the end of round 2. Again, Hall doing a good job, Jeremy. If you're defending and you're taking away the guy's striking ability, and again, stopped against the cage, Andy Social wants action, and he's gonna get it here as round 2 continues. A bit of a pause.
It might have been a strike to the groin.
Yeah, it looks like I heard watch the knees to the groin, so maybe a low blow, which might be as much as 5 minutes for Jon Taine Hall to recover. Oh, Hall looks like he's ready to go. Steps right back out. May have wanted to take an extra minute or 2 there.
The only problem with taking that time is it allows Arjan Bhullar to also recover, and perhaps he feels, Jon Taine, that the punches are not landing with as much power as they were earlier on in the fight, so maybe he sees his advantage coming forward.
More strikes now. This time Jon Taine Hall landing some punches coming forward. Some nice responses inside from some nice counter punches from Arjan Bhullar, and Bhullar now drives through for the takedown, the first one of the fight here. Arjan Bhullar winds up on top. A dangerous position, though, when you've got a guy as adept at jiu-jitsu as Jon Taine Hall.
Arjan Bhullar needs to make sure that he stays inside control or half guard. If you get into the mount or if you get into the guard, that's a very dangerous position. With the mount, it's easy to get reversed. Good jiu-jitsu guys will be able to reverse you. But if you're in this side control or this half control, a lot less submissions to be able to work from.
Also harder for Jon Taine to sweep from the bottom, especially against the tree trunks of Arjan Bhullar. Jon Taine Hall also ready across the cage and quickly out to center, showing some footwork of his own. Again, the psychological game means something for these guys too at this point, because Jon Taine's got to know that the second round went in favor of Arjan Bhullar, and at that point, with the first round being as close as it was, he's going to have to come out and finish this fight to win it.
It was a nice cross there from Jon Taine Hall. Actually stunned Arjan for just a quick second, so it'll be interesting to see. He's got that right hand cocked and ready to fire, but now it's Arjan Bhullar and Jon Taine Hall pulling guard and trying to land in a good position to be able to work his jiu-jitsu game.
Well, Bhullar landed a knee right before Hall tried to pull guard. Maybe Hall thinking his best shot is here on the ground and trying to find a spot. But again, Arjan Bhullar very accomplished as a grappler, as a wrestler, one of the best in the world at what he does. And it's whether or not he leaves an opening for Jon Taine Hall to find a limb and try and break it.
Good pressure here from Bhullar. He's landed a few short elbows. And again, he's staying in a safe position, which is in the half guard. As Jon Taine Hall tries to move to that full guard, you'll see probably Arjan Bhullar will abandon the position to get away from the danger of the jiu-jitsu that Jon Taine Hall brings.
And again, staying in that half guard, pressing his weight down on top of his opponent, landing punches, staying busy. We know Andy Social has restarted this fight 3 times because action wasn't happening in the earlier rounds. So Arjan Bhullar knows he can't just lay and pray for the next 3 minutes because he knows he's going to get stood up.
Good work here from Arjan Bhullar, again keeping the pressure on Jon Taine Hall, not letting him breathe, and landing some good shots, again, all left hands. So good work here as Bhullar is a bit of a southpaw in that the wrestling, because he likes to have that right leg forward. So it's natural for a lot of wrestlers to be that left-handed. So again, good work by Bhullar using what Jon Taine Hall is giving him and landing some pretty decent shots.
Palm strikes from Jon Taine Hall from the bottom. But Arjan Bhullar, again, just kind of staying busy, staying active, much like a wrestler does, Jeremy, on this position, trying to find the position for points. In this case, though, the points are punches and elbows, and that was a fairly solid elbow that we could feel from here.
One, if you can be patient and pick your shots and you land good ones like these ones here from Arjan Bhullar, you're going to be a more effective fighter because you're not wasting energy doing something that's not going to help your game.
Jon Taine fighting his way back to his feet, but Arjan Bhullar behind him now, and another punch to the face. Arjan Bhullar has Jon Taine Hall up against the cage, and just 2 minutes left here in the third and final round in this heavyweight battle, as Arjan Bhullar looks to pick up the second professional victory of his career. Jon Taine Hall looking to start with the clean sheet and move to 1-0. But Arjan Bhullar has had the positional dominance for the last couple rounds, Jeremy, that definitely will win you fights in an MMA cage.
Another takedown here from Arjan Bhullar, and now some big shots being landed from the top. Now Arjan, again, you saw Jon Taine Hall setting up actually a Kimura while he was in the standing position, but as soon as Arjan Bhullar felt it, his coach recognized it, called it in, and said, hey, let's get that arm back to yourself. As soon as he did, Jon Taine Hall had no choice but to go down, and Arjan Bhullar doing an excellent job again. Constant pressure on Jon Taine Hall.
Yeah, solid work here from Arjan Bhullar on top. A minute to go in what would likely be a decision victory, as he's held the balance for the last 2 rounds, certainly. But again, always dangerous. Jon Taine Hall could find a limb at any time. It's going to be defense as well as offense here. Can't really rush what he's doing, can Arjan Bhullar.
And again, now going to the single leg, and Anti-social again, separating him, not wanting them to lean up against the cage. A nice shot, and then slipping up to give a nice left hand, and now it's Jon Taine Hall who's moving forward, throwing some good punches.
Yeah, Jon Taine Hall knows he has 25 seconds left to win this fight, and he's got to get in there. And I mean, I don't know if he's going for a last-second knockout here, because he's waiting a little bit and cut, and a nice clinch here from Arjan Bhullar to keep him up against the cage. And now we've got the final 10 seconds of the fight in what is a likely decision victory for Arjan Bhullar. Jon Taine Hall drops down to the ground, and Arjan Bhullar will move to 2-0. A very effective performance from the former Olympic wrestler, the Commonwealth gold wrestler, takes down the jiu-jitsu artist and puts in a dominant victory.